We will be applying the same 10-point formatting checklist that we did with the team dashboard. Now we will also do it in the employee report. So first in our checklist is the legend or labels. And so in this case, we want to implement the legend as we use a lot of colors. It's very important that the user understands what the colors represent. So in order to build the legend, I'm just going to take a shortcut because we have already calculated or we have already created them here. I'm just going to copy all of them and then come over here to the employee report, and I'm going to find a place for me to paste it. So one approach is you don't have to copy the whole thing. Maybe just copy this area where the 5 vacation types are there. And I can come in here and then let's say, for example, I choose the cell here and hit paste. And now you can see that it's nicely pasted and the formulas are there, the colors are there, and everything works fine. And now when we do these 4 values, I'm just going to copy again, Control C for copy, and then I'll come over here and then I will choose, for example, the cells AC3, and I'm gonna paste them here. So they came over here nicely and the legend's kind of done. And then we also have to do the labels wherever needed. So we have all the labels here. We have the start date and date. And then we have the labels here. And so pretty much the labels seem to be there. So I think we are good to move to the second point in our 10-point checklist, which is number formatting. So number formatting, in this case, we don't have a lot of, we already have all this correctly formatted as month names. And these two are correctly in, date values, which are easy to read. And I think these ones we'll just change. They are general. I think I can keep it general. That's fine. And then we can also keep these as general. So, and then we have the date here, and then the date value here is also, we can check and make sure that we're using the same date format here. So in my opinion, I think the formatting is pretty good with the number formatting here. And so let's move to the next one. So now borders. So borders, let's, for example, use this first, and then let's do an outside borders. And then we may want to do something to show the inside borders. So I'm gonna go to borders, and then for inside, we can use a lighter color and then do inside and do that. So that'll look like that, pretty nice. And then we will also do some borders around this area, just like what we did with the team dashboard. We'll do outside borders, and then we can do outside borders again. Let's do another type of border, which will do this, this, and this. So that's going to do the borders around like this. We can also do the borders if you want here. So let's do it a different way. So let's do, which one am I looking at? So let's do more borders. So it gives you more flexibility. So I'm going to do this. So now all of them will have borders. And then we'll also do the borders around here. And we will do this time all borders, and that's good. And we have already applied the borders to these 3 cells, so that looks good. So I think we are pretty good with the borders now. It looks neat. And if you want any darker or bolder colors for borders, you can try that. I'm just going to keep it simple here. And then we will also want some underlining, or maybe a border which is underneath here, and then also I will put something underneath here. And so by that way there is clear indication that the date will appear there. So that's pretty much all I would do for borders. We may need an overall border, which we'll do it at the last step if we need to, but right now I feel like it's looking fine. Now let's move to the next step. Font style, which is basically the bold. So we may want to do bold for these dates, and then we may want to do the bold here to make them clearly visible. And I think that's mostly what I would do. You could also change these to bold to make them a pop-up, and I would also try to do the bold here if we need to for the numbers that are going to be displayed over here. Now let's move to the next step of our checklist. We'll do fill colors next. So fill colors, as we know already, we're going to apply the colors for the vacation and the sick days, just like what we have done before. So we'll do white, and then this one is going to be the yellow, and then this one is red with white font, and then this one's going to be the black with white font. There you go. So those are the fill colors that I would change. I don't think there's much else to do here. I'll keep it simple, save it, and move to the next step. Alignment. So alignment, I think we can align this better by making them appear in the middle, and that way. And then we could also make these appear in the center if that's something that you prefer. And then I think otherwise things are aligned now. So now grid lines, our favorite one. So go to view and then uncheck the box grid line. So now it starts appearing better as a professional application, not a spreadsheet anymore, which is good. And let's move to the next step. Now let's do page layout. So page layout, we're going to do first select the areas that we would want this to be in our dashboard when we print. So I'm going to select this area, and I would give set print area, and then we will change the orientation to be landscape, and then we will also do custom margins, and then we'll do kind of narrow if you want, or let's just leave the default here. I'm going to just leave the default there for margins, because this layout, because we have only 12 months of display, whereas if you remember in the team dashboard, we had 30 employees to be listed. So this layout is a little bit different. So I'm just not going to make changes yet. And let's look at the print preview first before we make those changes. So I'm going to hit print preview, and you see that there is a lot of white space, and we are already able to show 29 days. We only need to bring in 2 more days to make this appear fine. And so the second page looks like this. So it looks like we are relatively close to make all the ones appear inside. And if you need more, I think we can check again what's the column width. So we have 2.86, so let's do 2.8, and we still are not yet within that. So I'm going to move this a little bit more, and we are still not there. And so let's do one more time. Column width 2.7, and that'll bring it up. So that looks fine. And again, if you need to get more space, for example, in this column, so let's expand it a little bit for 14, and so that we can see them clearly. And this looks fine. We have all the dates. Let's check one more time in the print preview, and there you go. So I think it looks fine so far. And the second page looks like this. Okay, so in terms of the print area and the margins, I think we might be okay. And the print titles, so this is where we want the, what is going to be repeated in the top. So we will select these rows because I want to show the employee name in there. So let's see how this is going to appear. And then this month I want definitely to be displayed. And the rows part, I don't think we may need it, but let's do a print preview. And there we go. So it shows the first page, and in the second page it is going to show the month and then all this information. And we can notice that there is a little bit of a gap here, and that is because of this. So if you want to bring this a little bit closer, then it is going to appear closer. So let's just get it closer. Okay, so now we have all this information, and the print or the page layout setup seems to be fine. Let's move to the next step. column width and row height. So we already kind of adjusted the column width for this page. And if you want, you can expand or change the column width here as well. So we can make this a little bit longer, wider, and then I would also maybe change this a little bit to give more space. And one thing clearly that we found in the print preview was that we have a lot of white space at the bottom. So either, you could try to fill in with some comments or notes area where you may want to type some notes based on observations on the data, or you could actually try to increase the row height here, which is what I would like to demonstrate. Right click, row height, and then we can try, a row height which is, much taller. And so now you see that it's taking up more space. And if I do print preview, it is actually, taking up more of the space on the page and less white space. So this looks fine. And one thing you may notice is that when we increase the row height, some of these may look a little bit smaller in size. The text might look smaller in size relatively, which again, we'll address it in the next step when we go to the font size. So for font size, I think there is an opportunity to increase the font size of the annual summary because it's going to be the main point, which kind of illustrates or shows the total for the entire year. It'll be good to show them in a clear increased font size. And if you need to expand the column widths to account for that, we can do that. So let's do 12. That's going to increase it a little bit. And maybe that is a little bit too much. So I'll just change it to 11. So that brings it in. And now that's not big enough. So let's undo and let's keep it as 12 and see why we are not able to get that into one screen. So let's do print preview. And this looks fine. And for the second one, the end date is where it goes away to the third page. So we need to figure a way to get that in as well. Okay, so we will figure that out. So we can increase the size of these font. So we can make them not that big, but bigger than what it is now. And then we can also make the font size here a little bit larger. And we may not have a lot of things here, but we will align it to be center. And okay, so the only thing we need to figure out here is to make this come inside this page. So if you go to page layout, or actually view, page break, and see if we can expand this. And let's do file, print preview. So we have all the dates in one page. And then this looks fine. We will have the end date. So let's go back to the normal view. And if you have employee 11 or one of the employees where they actually have an end date, so the end date appears fine and the display also looks fine. So now I think we have come to a view which looks pretty good. One other thing which I have tried in the past is to actually give an outside border. So for each page, right now we didn't give any total outside borders. So when we print, there is like an outside border. So for example, you may have a border, you may want to print a border, but this looks fine to me. In some cases, I would try putting a border around. So anyway, so now we have the employee report, a functional employee report where the user gets to choose the employee that they are interested in building the report for, and they can even change the start date and the end date. And it actually builds all of this automatically. The employee start date and the end date gets populated, all the dates that the employee were employed, and then what types of vacation and how many days of working. So that, look at that. So that looks pretty cool. And we also have all the calculations for the vacation dates and everything. And we also have the total annual summary as well. So all of this nicely summarized and ready for us to print or export to PDF or share with your colleagues. So that completes the employee report section.